So once you have your slab rolled out, you have a bucket of water, you have your piece ready, you want to make sure that this is leather hard. So ideally, you'll be doing this on Thursday, getting your foot in this on Thursday, and then maybe doing this part on Friday, and then coming in to clean it up on Saturday, or the very last thing that you're doing on Monday. Mine is leather hard, so I'm ready to do this so I can finish out and do that part. So you got my 3 stages. And so the very first thing you want to do is you kind of want to drape. You want to drape it on. So the clay is stretching and it's showing almost a very, you can see an impression in here just by me draping it, right? So I'm going to drape it. Make sure that drape is where I'm going to get the dome. If you don't drape, you don't get a dome. You just get a flat top and you're wasting your time. I want this to be thicker because I'm going to be stretching the clay and I don't want the clay to thin out. So I am essentially looking for that flange that I create and making that shape of that heart stand out. I don't want to press so hard where I break off my piece, and that's why it's important for this to be leather hard. Your flange that's inside to be leather hard, so when you are pressing it, you should get some kind of impression in here. And so I am going to cut off all the excess, because take a wild guess what this has to do before I do anything. This has to get leather hard before I do anything. So this is going to stay here, and I'll work on that when I get back. This is already leather hard. And so when I flip this over, it's like a soft leather hard, but it's nice enough to do what it needs to do. Now I have like this dome shape. I have this outer ring and I have this inner ring. The inner ring is what we're going to want to cut around, but I like to be very careful because you never know. And I like to slowly cut into that. I don't want to make my first cut initially what it needs to be, because I might have made a mistake. But essentially, this part is going to sit in here. So I'm going to cut this off. You can do it from above, whichever works. What you don't want to cut is you don't want to cut too much off. So that's why I like to cut a little bit at a time. And all of these tools can be found on the first pegboard. Your fettling knife, your Surform, which is like a cheese grater, your wire cutter, everything. Now, this doesn't quite fit. It doesn't quite fit. There's some stretch marks, meaning before you put your clay down inside there, you should make sure you compress it with your ribs so you don't get any stretch marks. But I'm just going over this and smoothing it myself and compressing it myself so it doesn't get worse. And this is like a nice way to compress your clay. So now at this point, I can go a little bit closer because I know that doesn't fit for sure. And I don't want to change the shape. This is a little bit soft, so I'm going to be very careful. Cut, 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 cut. Cut, 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 cut. You don't want to cut at an angle. You want to cut up and down. And then at this point, we all know it's a good idea to smooth out any sharp edges. And then at this point, I'm seeing where it fits. It's not a perfect circle, so it's not going to fit like a perfect circle. And so I like to use this as a grater. When your clay is stiffer, it is easier to do this. You want your clay in your pieces, or your clay in, or your lid in your jar to be somewhat similar consistencies when you do this. And then anywhere where it's super thin, either fold over, but we're smoothing. Anywhere that's super thin will chip off if it doesn't have enough support. So keep that in mind too. It's not going to be perfect. So the trick when you're doing one of these, then I can either make a solid knob or a really fun knob, slip and score that really well, press down. It's important for it to be leather hard so it doesn't change its shape. And then when you're done with this, you absolutely, absolutely, absolutely do not want to be lifting this by just like you wouldn't want to lift by the handle. And so when you're absolutely done, the best way to store this is you just made a lot of attachments. And so you definitely want, when you get to here and you make sure that your piece is on the top, your knob, you want to make sure that you wait at least 24 hours before you uncover it. So I don't want anybody taking pictures. I just want you to cover your pieces really well, and then we'll document on Monday when we get back and then Tuesday. And so I like to tell people to put some plastic in there so they never have to worry about how they're going to pick this up. So it kind of picks it up and then you can turn it. It's not going to fit in every direction. So if you want to make a mark here and here, so you know, kind of like how I did on mine, I made like a mark just so these two can line up, so I know, because it doesn't fit perfectly. And it's not, because it's not a perfect, it wasn't done on the wheel. It's not perfect. And so, honestly, there's going to be at least one person in each class that kind of knows what they're going to do, right? Or how they support. Those of you who are like, I just want to get this done, you're going to roll a slab, and then you're going to add a coil, making sure that this coil is inside enough so it doesn't buck up against your rim. So if your rim is about a 1/4 inch, your coil should be inside a little bit more than a 1/4 inch. So you'll see something like this, rolling a slab, slip and scoring a coil on it. I like to make sure your slab is similar consistency. I like to make sure that I roll it on there like that so it can maintain its flatness. I usually will put it here to make sure it fits. And with this, you can make sure it fits in all 360 degrees. And so at this point, you're done. Any questions? You're going to have to lean on each other. But I know you guys have this. Don't hesitate to wrap up your piece really, really well. If you're stuck, and then work on maybe something else, painting or such, so you can maximize class time. But Monday, we are starting our lamps. And we got this. Good luck, guys.